Hey, everybody, it's Tony Bruschi inviting you to join us for our new limited series podcast, For Killed for What? The University of Idaho Murders podcast, where we discuss the latest in the case as it happens. It's a podcast unlike anything we've done before. We're following a case in real time, trying to dig into this and hear perspectives that may not have been heard before as we all wait and hope to find the killer or killers in this very fascinating and tragic case in Idaho. Just search University of Idaho Murders Podcast, For Killed for What? And you'll find us wherever you download podcast. Here is a 15-minute preview of our first episode. Be sure to press subscribe while you're listening. It began like any other typical Saturday night on campus. The small town of Moscow, Idaho. A placid and, for the most part, extremely secure college town that's not experienced a single homicide since the year 2015. The last thing anyone suspected was the lives of not one, but four innocent students to be taken on a mid-November night. Ethan, Kaylee, Xana, and Madison, all victims to an assailant. But who and why? This is the Idaho College Murders Podcast. For Killed for What? Welcome to the podcast, everyone. This is our first official episode. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for pressing subscribe if you already have. If you have not, please do press subscribe wherever you download podcasts. What we're going to do here on this show, myself and Sean, we're going to be going through this case as it develops. But before we can get to what the rumors are today, what the discussion is today, what the facts are today, we want to start with some context on this case. So the first thing we're going to do on today's episode will probably be unlike most of the episodes, because we're going to go through this thing in chronological order. We're going to go from the beginning, Saturday, November 12th, the evening before the murders took place on the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th, and work through what we know as of now. Context is so important in a case like this, because without it, you have this voice over here, that voice over here, and this one down that way, and this one that doesn't even know what they're talking about. There's so many things, so many shouts and so many screams and yells and this and that. We need to get a good grounding first and be steady on what we are talking about. So with that, let me welcome you and introduce to you Sean Reed, who's our co-host on this show, and also who's been putting together a lot of the research in the background on this. He's going to be with us on the program to help us work through all of this, discuss, and we're definitely looking to hear your insight as well. We have a Facebook group created specifically for this case, and you are welcome to join and discuss and express your opinions, and we may even talk about some of the things that you bring up on future episodes. Search for the Idaho College Murders For Killed for What podcast on Facebook and join us in that discussion. Sean?
We analyze and talk about situations that occur where there already is an answer. The facts, the suspect, the person of interest. We start talking about it when it has already occurred in past tense. And this is truly unique where, as we're talking about it, it is truly a fluid situation. It all started Saturday, November 12th, 2022. Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle, students at the University of Idaho, lived in a nearby off-campus residence with two other roommates in a 3-floor, 6-bedroom apartment. Early in the evening of Saturday, November 12th, Goncalves posted a series of photos on her Instagram feed. One of the pictures showed a caption of one lucky girl to be surrounded by these people every day. One of the photos shows Mogan sitting on Goncalves' shoulders with Chapin and Kernodle standing next to them. Later that night, Chapin and Kernodle went to a party on campus with Mogan and Goncalves heading to a downtown bar.
So this is very much a normal college Saturday night I mean, I think we can all remember nights like this when we were that age. And I think the last thing any of us thought of was murder at that time. It's probably the last thing on any of these kids' minds at that time.
Everything about this story at this point is 100% normal. College kids, best friends, enjoying the night, approaching the end of the semester, approaching the holidays. You got some friends want to go to an on-campus party. Others want to go more enjoy the downtown scene. All is normal. All is okay. All four are being safe, smart college kids getting ready to enjoy a Saturday night.
Yeah. Even to the point which many of us can relate to, showing up at the food truck at 1:41, going, I want number 2. You get number 3, and I'll get we'll share it. And then the tacos go everywhere because they're tacos and you're drunk, and tacos are delicious when you're drunk, but they are also one of the messiest foods to eat while you're drunk as well. Even when you're not drunk. I still haven't mastered the taco yet.
This is the one time in life where you are not judged of how intoxicated you are or not. You're hungry. Bar time has occurred. Lights have gone on at the bar. You kicked out. You go. You stop at a food truck. As Mogan and Goncalves did, this is now the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. The food truck called Grub Truckers, a Twitch stream, shows them ordering $10 worth of carbonara at 1:41. They waited about 10 minutes for their food. As they waited, they could be seen on camera chatting with each other and with other people standing by the truck. Manager of the Grub Truckers food truck, 26-year-old Joseph Woodall, said the two students did not seem to be in distress or in danger in any way.
How would you be when you're having carbonara? I mean, I always think tacos, but hell, food trucks have gotten better since we've been that age.
There was a Taco John's or a Taco John's in my days of college, and sadly, I'm pretty sure it closed at midnight, so at about 1:41, I would be SOL, go home, maybe get some 2.5-week-old bread, perhaps some ramen, and call it a night.
Well, they're enjoying carbonara for a meal. Unfortunately, the scary and really sad, dark part of it is that's going to be their last meal. Little do they know.
Mogan, Goncalves, Chapin, and Kernodle all returned to the home at some point in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Mogan, Goncalves, Chapin, and Kernodle all returned to the home at some point in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Again, last evidence shows Mogan and Goncalves on camera at roughly 1:41 in downtown Moscow. Kernodle and Chapin, who were at the on-campus party, returned to the residence at roughly the same time as Mogan and Goncalves. At about noon on Sunday, a call came into 911 about an unconscious person at an off-campus residence. Police did not disclose who called 911. Arriving officers found the door to the residence open and discovered the bodies of 4 fatally stabbed students. It was a pretty traumatic scene to find 4 dead college students in a residence, said Leda County Coroner Kathy Mabbitt. She did go on to say there was no sign of forced entry or damage. Moscow police issued a statement saying 4 people were found dead in a home off campus. University of Idaho President Scott Green announced that the 4 victims were students and canceled classes on Monday, November 14th.
So the first questions everyone began asking when this information came to light were, okay, no signs of forced entry, then was it somebody in the house? Because there were 2 other roommates, 2 other female roommates in the house that, according to them, slept through the incident and then got up eventually around noon, as college kids will do, and discovered the bodies. Now, if I'm understanding a few things correctly here, this was known as kind of a party place. The door had a key code, not a key. So you didn't have to physically have the key to get in. And if, you're a college kid and you're in a town that hasn't had a homicide since 2015, It's relatively safe. It's relatively small. A lot of people probably keep their shit unlocked. And you go in, you go out. People know this code. This is, I'm sure, something that's not known. And if you really need it, I'm sure you could probably find somebody who could give it to you.
If you're thinking about silly college kids, they need to be safer. They need to update the code. Okay, you're 20, 21, 22 years old. You live in a college town. To your point, it is a safe college town. You are smart, but guess what? You have a friend. They had a dog. You need somebody to go over and let the dog out. There's a multitude of friends. It's a party house. It's not that unsafe, not knowing you're going to be stabbed to death in the middle of the night, that the key code is known by a select few or even a large few. Again, whether you go into my place and you steal some wine, that's okay. I didn't anticipate you knowing the code to come in to kill me.
I mean, it's one of those things where when you're that age, I mean, I like to say this, and I'm not saying this in a derogatory way, because we've all been there. We've all been young and dumb. And what I mean by that is we just haven't lived. We haven't lived life long enough to have some of those moments of pause, of, well, maybe I should think this through a little bit. And it comes with maturity. Some people may have that at that age. Others, oblivious to it, because they've never lived a life where you had to think that far down the road that there could be a threat. There could be bad people out there. And if you have that many people living in the house, and you have a couple that live that way that are very specific about who gets the code and some who don't give a shit, it's going to get out. And your arguments as being one of the more conservative, no, let's be safe about this, ain't going to win out. And it's a battle that you're not going to win. So I think no matter who lived there, unless they're changing that code every single day, which I'm sure they didn't, it's a danger. And obviously someone got into the house. Well, at least it appears that way as of now. Some of the arguments that have been made about the other two students, the other two females who were in the house, were that the level of brutality that took place with these murders, they do not believe that it could have been one of the roommates as of now. Just strength-wise, being able to do what was done does not appear to be something that those two young females were capable of doing physically. And go ahead.
Questions arose as well. Your home, you're in your bedroom, 4 of your roommates, check that, 3 of your roommates and one of your roommates' boyfriends gets stabbed to death in the middle of the night. Do you not wake up? There's a dog in the home. Isn't there? They're barking. Isn't there enough going on that you wake up and do something? To that point, if you have seen floor plans or pictures of the house, this house itself is over 3 floors. Part of it is built into a hill. These 2 roommates who were unharmed and supposedly cleared by police, as we'll discuss further, their bedrooms were both on the 1st floor. The students that were murdered were on the 2nd and 3rd floor. So if you look at the architecture of this home, plus you factor in it's a party house, so as a college kid, you become immune to random outbursts of noise or screaming or such. You can probably sleep through a freight train going through your home. It gives a little bit more context that they weren't being totally oblivious to this, but that they may very well either A, not heard it at all, or B, whatever they did hear while they were sleeping, thinking it's somebody laughing or randomly screaming of some TikTok post.
Or insert other things that young people may be doing at night in their bedrooms, which, when you're in that situation, you get used to, and you zone it out. And I don't know what the other 2 were doing that night. I'm sure it's documented somewhere and we'll learn about it. But again, if you were drinking and you were out doing something like that, you can sleep pretty heavy and sleep through a lot of things. and not realize you did it, like throwing up in a lamp or something of that nature, thinking it's a garbage can.
This is about Moscow, Idaho, and the tragedy there.
College kids can do that.
When I visited you, it was I still owe you a lamp. And let me tell you, friends, when you meet up with fellow friends, lifelong friends, you haven't seen them in a while, you don't drink a lot of martinis, and then you had a martini, you too may end up vomiting on said friend's lamp when you confuse it in the middle of the night as a garbage can and or toilet.
It is normal for garbage cans to be glowing with a light bulb in the middle of them. It was the shape of a garbage can, but yes, and amazingly, the bulb was still on when I threw it away. But we were that age. We were that age, the same age as these guys when this sort of thing happened. When we were that age when you did that, and as the age they are now. So yeah, young and dumb, doing stuff like this. And you don't think of things like that.
Monday, November 14th, Moscow police issued a statement identifying the 4 homicide victims as Chapin, Goncalves, Kernodle, and Mogan. Police said details were limited and no one was in custody. They added that they do not believe there's an ongoing community risk based on information gathered during the preliminary investigation.
Yeah. The
mayor of Moscow.
Sorry, I want to stop there for a second because, and then I want to hear this. I'm just going to make a quick point. This is a town, again, of 2,100 people. It's very small.
25,000.
25,000. I'm sorry. I wouldn't say 21,000, but 25,000. Okay, so small. Probably doesn't have the most advanced CSI unit on it. You probably got the people that may be investigating cats and trees, stolen bikes, and drunken behavior in public. Going into something that they've never dealt with before, and you may immediately think, well, this was I don't know. It wasn't thought through, no matter what. When you look back on it, to say we don't believe there's anything right off the bat, to say something like that is nuts.
I believe. And not giving an excuse, not giving validation, not saying a mulligan. I really think, truly, law enforcement got caught with their pants down.
Completely.
Of not knowing what to say. On one hand, you don't want to scare a community. And on the other hand, you have to realize you're not a psychic. So if there's no weapon, there's no person, you're put in a very unique situation, and you're talking about a department that has not had to deal with a murder in nearly 10 years.
And sometimes you have to scare a community. It may be something you don't want to do. You don't want to upset your child and make them cry and start screaming when they're about to fall off a cliff. But if you scream really loud when they're getting close, it makes them stop. It makes them take caution because you had to do that, or they'd fall off the cliff. Your options were they'd not cry, they'd fall, and they'd die. But if you scream really loud, you'll make everybody take pause and be a little bit more aware of what's going on. That's a preview of our new podcast, University of Idaho Murders podcast, 4 Killed for What? A limited podcast as we follow this case in real time. I invite you to search that and subscribe wherever you download podcasts.